dina di dina dina di dina din tak dina tuna katta dak dak dina din din da din din tak tak duna katta tak dina.
Hello and welcome back to day one of the Odisha Design Week. Hope you had a good lunch. Our next speaker is Satish Gokhale. He's the co-founder and director of Design Directions. Excuse me. Satish won the Design of the Decade Award instituted by the Industrial Design Society of America for a low-cost water filter designed for the Tata Group. He has also received a Red Dot Award in Germany and a G Mark, which is a good design mark in Japan, for an indigenously developed solar-based computing device called Nobilis. Satish, welcome to Odisha Design Week. You have 45 minutes followed by Q&A. Over to you.
Thank you, Suresh, and thank you, Paresh, for inviting me. So I hope you're going to have a good time for the entire week in Bhubaneswar. So I believe there are more students as per what Paresh has mentioned. So what I'm going to do is actually showcase some case studies and
Satish, just a quick
basically.
reminder. The video was off. Okay, got it. Now it's on now. Your video was off.
Oh, no, I had not switched off the video.
Yeah, they must have
Okay,
done it on
that's
the
fine.
control side. Yeah.
Yeah. So welcome everyone, and thank you Paresh and Suresh for this opportunity. So what I'll do is I'll directly jump into the presentation. I'll just share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen? Hello? Can you see my screen? Hello? Suresh, can I know whether somebody can see my screen? Hello? Okay. So what we do is we actually work with companies to realize their dreams. We work on products, graphics, interfaces, and perceptions. Normally, what happens is typically a lot of Indian products function very well, but they're not so up to it on the aesthetics and the ergonomics. They're not very friendly for the users. There's a lot of tinkering to be done during repairs. So we actually work with a lot of industries to improve their products. That's strange. I don't know why it's not moving ahead. I'll just restart. Okay, so it is important to blend aesthetics, ergonomics, and engineering to create a strong visual identity for the product. And this is what we as a company strongly believe in. It should create a bond between the man and the machine or the product by designing aesthetic, ergonomic, uh, which has a very intuitive GUI as well as well engineered products. We believe that Good product design is the one which has a better user experience and an intuitive user interface. And obviously, good design is good business. So we've actually since 84, since 88, we've actually completed over 750 products, and some of them are sold in several countries globally. So typically, as a company, we've got our own design process. So it's got most of the D's, which is define, discuss, have dialogues with the end user, have collect a lot of data from the market. But the most important part is we end up redefining the brief. I would say 90% of the cases we end up redefining the design brief because a lot of clients don't understand design even today. Then we actually deconstruct the data collected, then the design work actually starts. So it's a very focused activity. We're not shooting in the air blindly. And obviously, we demonstrate by showing prototypes, mock-ups, and deliver part drawings which can be manufactured. So, what is good design? We believe that good design is an intersection of form, function, engineering, aesthetics, technology, and also, very importantly, the business viability. You can't create a product which is more than double the price, so nobody's going to buy it. So, business viability is equally important. Today, a lot of companies, though they have CFOs, the companies and the product launches are dictated by the CFOs. In a company, what we believe that design is to make sense on two levels. First, the emotional level of appealing directly to the customer's instincts and aspirations. And secondly, the technical level of designing new products which can be manufactured and marketed successfully. So, why is design important? Typically what happens is when different manufacturers are competing with several identical products. I mean, take cases of, let's say, ceiling fans. They all work the same way. It's just the minor change in aesthetics which people do. So typically the intent is the same, the specifications, the RPM, the length of the blades is same. So this is where a good design can actually grab the mind share, and it actually becomes the main differentiating factor. So basically, a well-designed product will and should create that wow effect, and it will always stand out in the crowd and also trigger sales. That's a winning product then. So I'm going to actually take you through some case studies. So this was a project which we did for a US based company called UE Life Sciences, and obviously we received a lot of awards. We've received over 12 awards for this product globally, and importantly we received the Aspirin Award, which is the highest in any medical domain. And besides that, we also received the Lexus Design Award in 2018. So this is the world's first handheld breast scanner. So typically, girls and women do not go and get mammography done because of the cost, which is about minimum 2,500 rupees. There's a pain and humility. So this is something which is radiation free. You just press the pink lever and scan over the breast. So it takes typically for one woman or a girl, it takes about 4 minutes. It is as simple as this. It's completely painless and radiation free. We've actually trained a lot of ASHA and A&M workers, so it was extremely simple on the training and pick up how to use the product. And the best part is we get instant results. You see it on your smartphone or your tablet instantly, and the efficacy is over 99%. Most importantly, the cost of testing one girl or a woman is 250 to 300 rupees in India today. Our target, we've actually just completed the next version of this, which looks similar, but the electronics has changed, and our target is under 75 rupees, or let's say $1. Because breast cancer is one of the highest cancers which is on the growth today. So does the product do? It actually shows us a stiffer lesion. That's our interest. Yes, then that the girl or the lady will be obviously asked to do mammography and meet an oncologist and all the further tests. This is another case study which we did. This is the world's first Ayurvedic artificial intelligence and machine learning product. I don't know how many of you know, but Ayurveda is a pure Indian science, which is a few thousand-year old. There was a time they could identify tumors and cancers, not knowing, not calling it tumors or cancers, but just by checking your pulse. So basically, there are three parameters in the pulse, which is kapha, pitta, and vata. So in today's day and age, a lot of doctors really don't know, or they're not trained to read the pulse carefully. And pulse is also reading the pulse is a art besides being a science. So we've created this product as so you and me can actually use it and get the results. So this is what the product looks like. It's just three sensors for the kapha, pitta, and vata, and the product looks like this. And you get your instant pulse and a 11-page report on your email in 2 minutes. So it actually tells you what to eat, what not to eat, when to eat, a lot of dietary restrictions. It checks your BP as well. It checks your SpO2. There's a whole lot of other things besides having the temperature settings and everything in this. So this product also received the Lexus Award. So this is basically the Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, three different pulses. So we've converted the finger sensors through electronic sensors. That was about 2 years back, and during this pandemic, we actually launched a product where you and me can use it. You don't require a doctor, and your report actually is on your website, on your app, and the doctor can actually see all the results. The same product in a different avatar, but for you and me, not for doctors. So this actually gives the same results. The electronics is fairly similar, but the form factor is completely different. It has that look and feel of a domestic BP machine, blood pressure monitoring machine, and doing very well. In fact, we launched this exactly 3 months back, and the product is doing very well now. We've got over 1,000 customers, units sold. So we have about 6,000 users using this product. A lot of corporates are buying this now. So we're tying up with the likes of Infosys and Tata's, TCS basically. So we have this product in five different range. So basically, what happens is this: the product cost is low, and this is more on subscription model. So you pay every month, and you can do it every day. The readings. This is another medical product. So initially, I've kept medical products because that's my passion. As a company, we do a lot of products to save someone's life, and the other side, we've actually designed products to take someone's life. Ironically, we've actually designed revolvers, and we've just completed a carbine for the defense. We're also doing a lot of work with the DRDO on water drones to save a drowning person in the sea. So this is a project which we work with Christian Medical College and my client Plus Advanced Technologies based out of Gurgaon. So neonatal asphyxia is on the rise. India, we lose about 6 lakh babies a year due to neonatal asphyxia. So what happens typically is when a child is taking birth, he ingests the fluids and he starts getting choked. And literally in 10 minutes, he becomes blue black and unfortunately they die. So only way to treat asphyxiated babies is to reduce the body temperature from 37 degrees to 33 degrees for 72 hours. So how do you do that? So there are equipment which costs about 12 and 15 lakh rupees, which is unaffordable for most of the hospitals. A place like Delhi has basically some 18 hospitals which have this equipment. So our target was how do you create this in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, or absolutely in rural areas in a PHC center. Most of the time there's no electricity. So we've designed a product which retains the temperature at 43 degrees centigrade, 33 degrees centigrade without electricity. And this is a project which I successfully completely indigenous technology, and that's what we were awarded a president's award for this product. In fact, the client received the award for the product and the technology. So today I can comfortably say we've saved over 3 lakh babies in the last 3.5 years. We actually are one of the few companies who specialize in inhalers as for asthma and COPD. So today's day and age, people are moving to dry powder inhalers. So this, what you're seeing, is the world's most efficient and the smallest footprint, and a product which uses only three steps for the operation. So it's open, inhale, and shut, for a proud Indian company called Sun Pharmaceuticals. So typically, here you can actually read how many doses are left. So this is a 60 dose device which you can carry in your purse, bag, or keep it in your pocket. It shows you a countdown, numbers. So the minute you inhale once, it'll show you 59, 58, 57, and so on and so forth. What happens to a visually impaired person? So the problem is, I don't know if you can see, there's a braille button which pops out. So in the last 8 doses, this button comes out and stays there permanently. So this is like a braille button. So a visually impaired person can actually feel the prick on the button and know that there are only 8 doses left. So he's prepared to go and buy a new device. So this is like a early warning. And instantly this entire product glows in the dark. So let's say typically at 2 or 3 o'clock at night, I get a wheezing attack. I don't need to switch on the lights to find out where the device is kept. This glows in the dark, similar to glow toys. So, product design, I personally believe, is not reinventing the wheel every time. Can you cross pollinate? Get ideas from different places and incorporate them in the product at times. So, that actually works out wonderful in the whole development cycle of the product. So typically, when you go to a physician, he'll ask you to get you an HbA1c count. Your reading. So HbA1c is nothing else but a 3 months concentrated or saturated, HB reading. So if you're a diabetic person, the physician's interest is not to see what your HB level is or your sugar level is. So this is for 3 months, and typically all these equipments are very big. This is a completely indigenous product, and it actually sits on the physician's or the physician's reception table. And the way you do a hemogram at your residence, this is exactly what you do, and you get your HbA1c count in less than 1 minute. That's the beauty of this product. Otherwise, typically, the once the physician tells you to get the HbA1c count, you have to have minimum 12 hours of fasting, then go give your blood, have your meal, and after 3 hours again go and give the blood. So by the time you lose out 2 days, and getting appointments of physicians becomes painful nowadays. Again, it's actually difficult to get appointments. So this is instant, but the interface is such that the reception person will actually be doing it. So one doesn't know the intellect level or what is his education level. So it actually guides the person what to do. So this is a clinical chemistry analyzer. So you have to put some reagent, something like that. So first it says connect the probe. It'll scan the probe code, and it'll actually tell you take a sample in a cuvette. So once you put, so typically in school, if you remember, or I'm sure everyone knows, the minute you have to separate plasma and the cells, you have to put a reagent and centrifuge it. So the RBCs and the plasma separate, or RBC and WBC and the plasma separate. So typically our device is really small footprint, 6 inch by 4 inch typically, whereas a centrifuge is a bulky unit. So no doctors are going to like having a centrifuge in their clinic. So we actually patented a technology which is like an absorbent stick. So the minute I put this T-shaped absorbent stick into the cuvette is nothing else but a small plastic test tube kind of thing. It sucks all the plasma out and leaves only the RBC and WBC, and you get your HbA1c count immediately. And typically the cost is less than 100 rupees. Otherwise, you end up spending 2000 plus just for your HbA1c. So, this is affordable healthcare. This is what the product looks like now, completely launched. This is another medical product. I'm sure everyone knows what an ultrasound machine looks like. They all look the same. This is for a company in Mysore called Larson and Tubro. So the minute I went there, the first question as a designer, I asked them, why are the probes on the right? See, as designers, it's very important to question. It could be the stupidest question, but a lot of answers you can actually get only if you ask some and a lot of questions, I would say. So the first question was, why are the probes or the transducers on the right? The whole team looked at each other and said, oh, because GE, Siemens, Philips, Toshiba, Shimatsu has on the right. The five top global players in ultrasound. And the joke is there's a trackball and three button on the left to freeze a frame, to give you an X-ray output or your CD. And this is a very high-end scanning. So my second question is, what if I was a left-handed radiologist? They actually were stumbled and realized that nobody had really thought of it. So this is the redesign of the same product. We've not reduced any features. We've actually added a thermal printer as well. But this is the world's first ambidextrous ultrasound machine. So, if Dr. Paresh says I am a right-handed doctor or a radiologist, these three buttons will disable through software. So accidentally pressing this does not record a frame. Whereas a left-handed radiologist, he'll be using these three buttons. And now I can put the probe on either side. So how does design benefit? So this machine typically was sold for about 5 lakh rupees, and they could barely sell about 210 machines a year. With this, the manufacturing cost increased by 37,000 rupees when you amortize the die cost and everything. But we sold over 630 units in the first year. And then in the second year, our volumes quadrupled, but the selling price was 6.7 lakhs. So look at the kind of benefit design gets for the client. And it is extremely comfortable for the radiologist as well. This was an interesting case study where a client actually had developed a X-ray generator which is used in cardiac cath labs. So cardiac cath labs, what you can do is you can do fluoroscopy, angiography, and angioplasty. So I'm sure everyone knows angioplasty. It's high-tech plumbing. So there's a block in your artery. You go there, deploy a stent, so allow the blood to pass through. It's just pure high-tech plumbing. So when the client actually approached us saying that we've developed this X-ray generator, and GE, when they approached GE Healthcare, they actually told them the product functions well, but it looks terrible. We would put you onto our US team and get the whole product designed. So somehow I don't know how they heard about us, and they came to us. We actually convinced this company saying that you're developing the heart, but the cream will go to the US. Why can't we develop our cath lab completely on our own in India? So this is a very, very friendly looking cath lab. We call this the Ganesha because this is a product which rotates in all axes. And there's a patient who's sleeping, but the patient is just sedated. He's talking to the radiologist as well. So the product should look extremely friendly. Again, our competition was GE, Siemens, Philips, Toshiba, Shimatsu. We were the sixth company and the sixth nation in the world to have an indigenous cath lab. And typically, we handsomely launched the product at less than half the price with zero compromise on imaging. If there's any compromise on imaging, no surgeon, cardiac surgeon would ever want to use our equipment because typically surgeons don't want to listen saying that so and so patient died on the table. So here the whole unit rotates plus minus 130 degrees, and this entire arm swings by 110 on either side. So after 3 years of successfully selling, manufacturing and selling these machines, I kept, wondering why should I make such a complex machine, have a pivot? So it's a very, you have to create the flooring very well. India labor is cheap. Can I not put this on wheels and make the product even more simpler, doing the same angiography, fluoroscopy, and angioplasty? So this product we launched at 1.3 crores, typically as opposed to 3.5 crores. And this was a project which we completed after 3 years of after launching the first product. This is officially till date the world's first and only fully motorized mobile cath lab. And this is what the whole product looks like. The whole footprint has reduced. So typically at airports, you see the trolleys, you press and it moves, you know. So this is just nothing else but clutch and brake mechanism. So again, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, see what things are available. And physics doesn't change, laws don't change. How do you implement them is important. So now this product was launched by the client for 75 lakh rupees. So imagine 3 crores plus versus 75 lakhs. Our volumes increased. I think first year we sold 63, second year we sold 287 machines. And finally, my client was completely stock barrel bought by a company called Philips. So we also do a lot of work with an organization in US called Ethicon and Endosurgery. That's Johnson and Johnson. So I'm sure everybody knows what endoscopes are. This is used mainly in minimal invasive surgery, where you don't have to cut open the patient quite a lot. You just make a 12 incision and pass probes through it, pass the light and camera through it. So typically you would make 3 or 4 holes depending on what surgery you're doing. So what we invented in the process is we've actually invented the probe such that our light and cameras through the same orifice. It's just a concentric. I didn't know why somebody else didn't do it before us. So one hole to be drilled gets reduced, so faster recovery and less trauma on the patient. And the product is doing extremely well. For the last 7 years, this product is still out in the market. And this is a product where, depending on what surgery, the way you hold the probe is very different. So it has to fit in for the smallest Japanese female surgeon's hand versus a big Afro American big hands. So we can't compromise on any ergonomics for medical products. I mean, for other projects as well, but medical is even more critical. So typically for endoscopes, what happens is you need an image intensifier and you also require a capturing device. So the surgeons are actually looking at a screen and operating. They're not looking at the patient at all. So this is another company which are world leaders, again a company from the US called Stryker, and they supply image capturing devices to most of the endoscope people. So they came to us with a 10.3 touchscreen. So this diagonal is 10.3. And the first thing we thought that this is on-off switch. Because that's the only thing in color. So just for identifying striker or making it stand out, they're using a color TFT. That's a cost. So the first question we asked them, why are you putting striker in blue? The answer was very simple, that we are world leaders. So we would want people to know it's striker. I mean, damn it, the patient is anesthetized. He's least bothered what you're chopping him on. And our second target was to make this to a 14 by 9 centimeters. So it's slightly odd size, but slightly bigger than 7-inch, without losing out or compromising on any information. See, operating theaters are very complex and very tensed environments. The doctor's job is to perform a procedure or a surgery without any mistakes or hurdles. So it's always tensed environment. So typically, when he says, "Nurse, give me a single camera view," she actually fumbles or he fumbles to find out which button to press. So we actually did a mind mapping and a walkthrough of what a surgeon goes through while using these endoscopes. And this is our actual operating screen today. It's a 14 by 9 centimeter. So the doctor is interested whether it's a new case, current case, or he can actually press archive and see how he had operated so and so procedure a few days back. And load patient info is typically done before the doctors walk into the operation theaters. And these are the further screens. So this is the actual operative screen. Thanks to mobile phones, smartphones, icons, everybody understands today. It actually shows you save, capture, or this is a toggle switch between a single or a dual camera. The minute I press this button, it goes to a single camera mode. So there's only one single camera view in the middle. This is your frame settings, this is your printer settings. It's so intuitive. Initially, the client from the US were really shit scared to showcase this to the doctors. and because it was drastically different. So we actually told them, I mean, at the most, they may not like it, but why don't you show it around? And that actually led to some amazing results. Their sales shot up by 44% in one financial year. Doctors loved it, nurses loved it. And the best part is we did away with the language barrier. So earlier, they used to have in 13 different languages. Today, most of the countries which are non-English speaking are using these devices. So this is what the actual product looks like. Okay, coming to some boring engineering products, we do a wide variety of machine tools, and we believe that, why should machine tools look and perform, or that they perform well, but why should they look terrible? A lot of Indian products, as I said earlier, they perform well, but they're not par on terms of aesthetics and ergonomics and the fit and finish as compared to our European or Japanese counterparts. So this is the world leader, one of the world leaders called Pyrotech. So they're basically two people who make degassing machines. So I'll just tell you what degassing is. Degassing is nothing else but removing all the trapped air in molten aluminum before you pour it into the molds. So it's like when you drink Eno, all the gases are released, right? So, accidentally, if air is trapped into the molten aluminum and you pour it into the molds, you get porosity in the parts. And that's where the parts become weak. So, degassing is a very, very important process in aluminum processing. So, all your, pressure die cast wheels for automobiles and a lot of crank car cases, everything is pressure die cast today. So, typically, this is what the client's machine looked earlier. And there's a 1 meter ladle which has 900 degrees of molten aluminum inside. So there's a hopper which you keep putting flux, which is like a powder. Imagine it's something like Eno. So every 4 minutes, some amount of powder is dispensed into the molten aluminum. So this being right on top of the machine, no operator wants to go and fill the hopper. Safety hazards, and this is an American product, incidentally. So what they typically do is they rotate the whole machine on this base by 90 degrees, put the powder and put swivel it back. And this is the redesign of the same machine. So instead of swiveling the whole machine, we just swivel the head. And then we also did one more thing that, we did away with the hopper. We sucked the flux pneumatically. So we have a small area at the back where the gunny sacks are stored of the flux, and it dispenses based on the pulse every 4 minutes. So the product stands out in a very mundane looking foundry shop floors. So this is just a transport plate, but this is the actual product. That's all. It suddenly stands out in the crowd. And the client was surprised that a product in India, designed and manufactured in India, can look so well and perform so well. We ended up saving about 22% of electrical power as well, because instead of rotating the whole machine which requires power, just the head requires very little power to move. Then how do you pour the aluminum? Earlier, they used to take everything manually. So we've actually created a robot which comes, picks up the molten aluminum. So let's say my part is 385 grams. It picks up 400 grams. So we've got weighing scales, everything built into our ladle. It pours 15 grams extra, rotates and pours it into the mold. So what you're seeing is the fabric actually goes in the ground. So this is the ground level here. And the whole product rotates, and it's so typically with one degassing machine, we have 6 robots in a line. So they all synchronize. So they keep pouring it into the molds. Centering machines. So when you buy cotton fabric, or let's say your denims basically are stentered. A good cotton shirt, good cotton fabric is stentered. So what is stentering? Stentering is nothing else but this fabric is passed through a chemical, squeezed and elongated and heated and dried in an oven. So this is like a 45-meter oven, like your biscuit manufacturing line. So my first question to the client, see, basically he called us in because they divorced their German counterpart, which are world leaders. And in Ahmedabad, as the crow flies, the competitor and my client are just 3 kilometers away. The client can command about, 1.5 crores for this machine, whereas my client could barely get 60, 70 lakhs, or let's say 80 lakhs at the most. The quality output is the same. It's basic finish, is where the main hurdle is. So the client called us saying that can we just change the aesthetics and ergonomics so my product looks upmarket and better than the competitor. So typically, this is what it looks like. So you're walking through the two machines. Every time you're walking, you're just opening these drawers to remove the fluff, because fluff can actually create fire, because we are actually heating the fabric at 260 degrees centigrade. But my first question to the client is, my fabric is not more than 1.5 mm thick. Why is my furnace good 6.5 feet tall? Can't I do it in 15 inch? Second question is, heat travels vertically. Why are you designing the ovens horizontally? This requires fundamental change and a change in mindset and a confidence that we can do something radically different. With our success on this existing product, now we're actually getting into that kind of domain. And this is a redesign of the same machine. Looks extremely friendly. See, this has a structure, but the structure is covered with a nice composite panel. So the visual clutter is reduced. Suddenly, the operator feels is working with a more high tech kind of product. So this is just one chamber. Six of these chambers make one stentering machine. But for the photography sake, we just, because this was actually in a exhibition in Milan, so we couldn't afford to take six chambers. So you would see these light indicators. So this is like flagging on your railways or buses. The minute my fluff is accumulating, it turns from green to red. So an operator who's constantly walking, instead now he can sit and open only that drawer or chamber and clear the filter once the red light is on. So there's a certain comfort level for the operator. Then the entire user interface was changed. We've got all motion controls. It actually tells you where the fault lies. So diagnostics is very important, and downtime of any machine is a cost to the company. Okay. So this is a recently developed product. I'm sure on the highways you must have seen weighing bridges for trucks. So when a truck, weighs themselves, that's called the tearing of the truck. And when they pick up material, you re-weigh it, and that's the weight of what you're, carrying. So typically they're called dharam kata in India, and they all are manned weigh bridges. There's a huge 10 by 10 feet room with weighing scales and everything. Whereas this, what we've designed for the client, is a completely unmanned. So there is not a single operator near the weighing scale. So imagine someone like Tata Steel or L&T or Ambuja Cement or whichever company, they would want less hassles, they would want less labors to man the gate. So typically when the truck comes in, it actually weighs the empty weight, and when it gets loaded with, let's say, metal sections or whatever, it tells you the weight of the parts. And typically these, you must have seen W beams on all highways, and all these trucks invariably overload themselves, and that's when the problems start. So we've actually designed these barriers which are rotationally molded and which has the look and feel of a tire. These are tire treads typically molded, but in case a truck sides touch this, it actually flexes, and once the truck passes, it retains its own position again. It's just spring loaded, simple. But the whole product looks beautiful now. And the interface, I mean, there was a man typing everything. Today, the whole thing is completely automated, unmanned. This is what the interface looks today. Suddenly, the sales have shot up in spite of COVID. See, COVID also did a lot of good for industries, because they actually spruced up, pulled up their socks, implemented a lot of changes which otherwise was difficult for them to implement because it used to take some time. Okay, this is one of my old products, and I think I'm almost through. This is called the Tata Swatch. This is a water filter which switches off after 3,000 liters of waters pass through it. And again, we are cross pollinating with what we work in pharma technology, which is called slow release drugs. And lot of awards, but this actually received the Design of the Decade award. Okay, this was 11 years back, so now you can imagine. But the product is still out in the market. So some of these are more of a passion project. I love this process and material. So we've created a range of over now 200 planters and seating systems, all 100% recyclable material, rotationally molded. So these are illuminated planters, lamps. These are our rocks. We call them the Piero. So they look very heavy. They look like granite, but weighs only 7 kilos, and it can take a static load of more than 2 tons of static load. A nice seating bench. It's got a curve, so actually, when two people are sitting, let's say a girl and a guy is sitting, they actually come close. That was the whole objective. Uh, this is what we actually received a platinum award in US. It's based on yin yang. So six of them actually make a circle, or you can put them as wave. Lightweight. We do a lot of work on cold chain. So these are all ice cream vending carts. What you see in Delhi and a lot of places are actually designed by us. So when the vendor is moving around on cycle carts, you can actually retain that minus 18 degrees temperature for about 12 hours. So that's the beauty. So Magnum, I mean, this was done by another design company, the ad agency on top, but the heart is what we've designed. And the graphics is again the ad agency for. So if you eat Kentucky Fried Chicken or Domino's Pizza, the bases and the chicken actually goes from Noida all the way till Kanyakumari in our containers without electricity. So we maintain them at the right temperature. These are all using phase change materials. It's something which can be steam washed, so no sharp corners. It's a lightweight product and retains the right temperature for a long time. We've also launched fruits and vegetable vending carts. We've just completed fish vending carts, because typically when you're selling fish, you end up taking more ice. That's the main weight than fish, so that becomes a problem. And fish in ice is not very hygienic anymore. So, these are the tablets which we cool. We call them the face change material tablets. I'm sure you must have seen these tanks. These tanks are sold in 30 plus countries today. You walk into, I mean, go for your treks to Leh Ladakh, you'll see only our tanks everywhere. My client initially was scared to invest 3 crores on the machine and the design. Today, in a span of 7 years, he's become a 600 crore company and 16 different locations. He's manufacturing these tanks. See, typically what happens for water tanks, blow molded or rotationally molded, you're carrying air, you're transporting air. So it's better to produce it at local level. So in Bhubaneswar, you cater to the Odisha and West Bengal area and things like that. Okay, so this is our recent project which we completed just few months back, and basically today geriatrics age is on the rise. There are far more senior citizens now above 80, and accordingly amount of health issues, hand trouble, ALS. There's a lot of Parkinson's which is also happening. So basically what happens is nobody really, besides the patient or the, nobody takes care of the caregivers. There's a lot of stress on the caregivers as well. So this was a live project because my sister-in-law was detected with ALS, and we have created this product which can be made in several materials. So this is in ceramics. So basically, what you're doing is there's a lip which is extended with a nice parabolic curve. So all the food particles, let's say I'm eating upma or poha, it all, or idli sambar, it falls in the spoon beautifully. You'll see it in the video, or it's right here. Imagine eating food stuff like this. It just falls into the spoon and gives a confidence. And the person who's actually disabled or with ALS, he actually feels that he's eating with dignity, because otherwise we have to feed them. So we've done it in pure silverware, and thanks to NID's education. After 1981, this was the first time I got my hand onto a spinning machine. I did these prototypes myself personally without dies. And now these are also made in stainless steel. So we've enhanced this with a nice Tokai, hand beaten Tokai effect, just to enhance the whole plate. So I'll just play a quick short video. It's a set of three. That's my sister-in-law. We actually had to feed her. So, she would feel terrible that, at this age she's got ALS. And so she was too shy away from coming and eating with us. They've actually tested this on over 50 people with motor neuron disabilities. It's ideal for you and me also to eat, dal chawal and idli sambar, everything in it. The trajectory part was the most important in this entire design. So we're actually getting into licensing this product to various companies for stainless steel, silverware, ceramics, and opal glass kind of thing. Yeah, in short, I think this was right on time, and this is what I would end with. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Satish. We'll just
Thank you.
wait for some questions from the students. But before
Sure.
that, let me ask you a couple of questions.
Sure.
Over your career, how much of an engineer have you become yourself?
Uh, it's not being an engineer, but typically what happens is if you want to speak the language of a client, you have to do your basic homework. So, in school, I never used to like engineering. Rather, I lost my engineering admission by 1 mark, and I'm actually grateful for that now. And I think the way engineering or sciences were taught in school was very different. I actually have started enjoying the science and the engineering part now. And one realizes you just have to keep your eyes and ears open and works wonders for you. But yes, we do consult with very senior people in that domain. So when we were working on any asthma related, we do a lot of work with chemical engineers. So
And you mentioned a lot of business success in many of your case studies. Is that very important to you that what you do the product has to sell or profits have to be made?
So for the client, yes, profits has to be made, but it shouldn't be expensive for the customer as well. I don't believe in designer product which has 6 times or 6x or 10x. None of our product is in that range. I believe that design is for the masses. And okay, when I say masses or mass production for machine tools, it could be 200 a year or even 20 a year, depending on what kind of machine it is. But for example, Tata Swatch, we've sold over 8 million units, and our target was 1200 rupees. We launched it at 999 rupees. So I believe that end of the day, the customer also should benefit and society at large, both.
Satish, do you think if there was a record for an Indian designer to have designed the maximum number of products that are in production, you would get that record?
I, I mean, it's just that we love what we do, and I think one of the reasons why we have so many products, because with one success for a single client, he comes back with the second, third, fourth. In fact, for one single client, we've done over 63 products. So I think that speaks for itself, because otherwise there's no business for him to come back to us if he's not benefiting.
All right. As you can see from the comments, people love the presentation. Very insightful, very useful to the student community. Thank you, Satish Gokhale. Thank you for the
Thank you.
presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I log off?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good day. Bye. Thank you, Paresh.
Our next session will begin at what time is it? 3 p.m. Indian Standard Time. And you'll be joined by Ricky Hansen from Denmark. We'll see you at 3 p.m. Bye.
Again,